King Cerulean of Laguna, cursed to become a blue bird, travelled with his magician advisor Idro to the home of the fairy Susi to persuade her to remove the curse. While they were there, they met the exiled Queen Repiara and Princess Mina. Discovering that the curse was facilitated by a spirit, and that only marrying Mina or her death could end the curse, they also supposed that Mina was under a curse herself, connected to her mother. They invited Mina to speak with them and share their suspicions. That night, Mina went to speak to the spirit, who confirmed their theory. Mina then returned to the room she was sharing with her mother and killed Repiara to break her curse. Early in the morning, before breakfast, there was a knock on the door of Cerulean and Idro's chamber. Idro opened it and saw the transformed Mina in the doorway, eyes red from crying all night. "It's Mina," she said in a whisper, her voice sticking slightly in her throat. "You were right, Master Idro. Please could I come in?" "Of course," replied the magician. When Cerulean saw her, he was struck by her beauty, and for a moment he considered the possibility of marrying her after all. It was a different kind of beauty to Florine's, more exotic. But the mark Florine had made on his heart was indelible. When the door was closed, Mina said, "I killed her, my mother." More tears formed in her eyes. Her face and body were covered in burn scars. "I understand," replied Idro. "I'm afraid of what Susi will do when she finds out," said Mina. "Come with us," said Cerulean. "We'll leave the palace together." "Thank you, my lord," replied Mina. "Quickly then," said Idro. Mina said that she had nothing else she needed to bring with her, while Idro and Cerulean were also travelling light, but they took with them the ornate birdcage from their room. Typically, the fairy hostess was late to rise, but they were not able to avoid being seen by servants as they headed for the entrance. Some perhaps assumed that Mina was Repiara, given how similar she looked to her. When one stopped to remind them that it would not be long before breakfast, Idro told them that they wanted to enjoy the morning air before eating. In the end, they left the palace without incident. From there, they headed to the capital, intending to meet with Florine. As they walked, Idro raised the notion of Cerulean marrying Mina to end the curse. But before Cerulean could restate his devotion to Florine, Mina herself said that while she understood why Cerulean had rejected her before, it still pained her to think about it, and she couldn't bring herself to marry him. Cerulean felt a little ashamed at hearing this, and told her that he respected her decision. Furthermore, he vowed that he would not seek her death to end the curse. At this, Idro winced. He had lost hope that the curse could be broken any other way. How could Cerulean hold on to the throne of Laguna, and would Florine even remain true to him if he should never become human again? When they reached the gates of Aulni City, Idro announced himself. His name was known across many of the kingdoms, including this one. But, of course, Cerulean was silent, sitting in the birdcage, held by Mina, who Idro introduced as his assistant, Fausta. They were told that Queen Florine was not in the city, but invited them to talk with the current warden of the palace. After they left for the palace, one of the guards remarked that the magician's striking assistant somehow reminded him of the exiled former queen. In true Aulnian fashion, while Florine hadn't appointed a specific person to be in charge, the staff of the castle had defaulted to consulting Hortense, the old head gardener of the palace, whenever they needed leadership. So once inside the palace grounds, Idro was shown to Hortense's shed. Inside, the smell of wood varnish mixed with the scents of various flowers. The old gardener chuckled as Idro introduced himself and Fausta, and explained the reason for their visit. Idro had come on behalf of King Cerulean of Laguna to speak with the Queen. Hortense told them of Florine's journey to Laguna. Perhaps she had already arrived. Having spent much of the day travelling, Idro and Fausta were each given rooms next door to each other, with Cerulean the bird staying with the magician. It felt very odd to Mina to be back in the palace and not in her old room. She had been very quiet with the servants who had attended her, avoiding eye contact. A little after the servant had left, Mina went to knock on Idro's door, and the magician invited her in. Between them they discussed their next course of action. Cerulean was keen to head back to Laguna, while Idro was concerned that they might once again miss each other. The priest Trescio knew about Cerulean's condition and his reason for travelling to Alni to see Florine. But would she wait in Laguna for Cerulean's return, or return to Alni? It would be wiser, thought Idro, to send a message to Trescio, asking him to confirm if Florine had visited, waiting in Alni until they heard either way. But Cerulean was impatient to see Florine, and insisted that he would fly back to Laguna alone. If she was still in the city, he would find her, or otherwise return to Alni after confirming with the high priest. Despite the fact that Cerulean had made this journey many times, Idro was reluctant to allow his liege to risk it alone. Even though Idro had flown to Susi's palace in the form of a bird, and could, in principle, return with the king by air, it wouldn't be possible to transform Mina in the same way. To use magic safely, a person needed to have a surplus of life energy, and the knowledge and skill to use only that surplus to power their magic. Otherwise it would shorten their life or damage parts of the body, possibly beyond repair. To sustain his own transformation, as well as Mina's, all the way back to Laguna, would be too much for the old magician, and, unfortunately, magical flying creatures like the frogs that the fairy had eaten, or her own strong-winged doves, were also rare. These kinds of creatures were ordinary animals that had been carefully infused with magic from birth, or during the pregnancy of the mother animal. The only other way was by using Aether crystals, which were also extremely rare. Reminded of these facts, Mina said that she thought she had seen Aether crystals in the palace vault when she lived here. Could they try to take some? Cerulean, reluctant to steal from Florine, and to use such a precious and near irreplaceable crystal out of impatience, dismissed the idea, and insisted that he would fly alone, and Idro should stay with Mina in Alni. With this decided, and neither of them able to countermand the king, Idro arranged for suitable food for his liege to eat, and early the following morning, Cerulean set off.